welcome or welcome back to the Emily Knits channel. Today I have a video for you all about the Wool Monty yarn show which I attended last weekend. I have either already put in or I will put in some footage of the excuse me, the event and the vendors that I visited and stuff, and I also have some acquisitions to talk to you about and to share with you, and some thoughts, positives, not negatives, but something maybe worth bearing in mind, and my thoughts on if it's worth attending. Maybe that's not the right way to put it, but you know, my sort of overall takeaway from the event. If that sounds of interest, please keep watching and let's get into it. So, like I said, last weekend I attended the Wool Monty yarn show. I have the program here today. Apologies in advance if I'm all over the place, is what I was going to say, and apparently I'm going to be. I'm just on my lunch break from work, so I've got sort of the time at the back of my mind, but I will try not to be too scatty. Yeah, I attended the Wool Monty this year. This is the couple of things to say is the first yarn show I've ever gone to. And therefore obviously the first time I've ever been to the Wool Monty as well, but I haven't got other things to compare it to. So this is my full takeaway as the first time I've a fairly experienced knitter who has attended one of these for the very first time. I went with my mum, who really enjoyed it actually. And we attended on, I think it was on the 8th and 9th of June, and we went on the Saturday. So to tell you a little bit about the Wool Monty before we get into anything else, it's just outside of Sheffield. I think it's technically classed as Rotherham, but it's really close to Meadowhall, if any of you know that area, where the new venue they've chosen. I think it used to be at a different venue. This year was their first year at their current venue, which is Magna, which is like an exhibition centre and like a kids science centre kind of thing. If you are coming from outside of the area, I know the area pretty well because I grew up about 20 minutes from there. But if you're coming from outside of the area, it is a really accessible venue in terms of access from the motorways. It's just off one of the junctions of the M1. I think it was probably maybe 5 minutes max from the motorway junction. I think it's the M1 or the M18. I think it's the M1. It's very accessible by motorway network is what I'm saying. And then I think there's trains and public transport there as well. They certainly had a lot of things on their website about getting there. So if you are thinking of going next year, I'm pretty certain they're planning on being back at the same venue, and it was very accessible in terms of transport. The Wool Monty, I think, has been around since it's run by the Woolfull team, and Woolfull is a yarn shop, I'm pretty certain, somewhere in South Yorkshire. I'll put it up. I've never actually been. I did speak to them on the day, but I didn't, clearly it's gone in one ear and out the other. I didn't buy anything from there. But they've been going since 2017, and I think they first started doing the Wool Monty in 2018. It hasn't been running every year because of obviously COVID, and I seem to think maybe it's only the last couple of years that it's been rerunning again. And like I say, this is their first year at the venue of Magna. So the things to say about it before we go into my experience are the way that they pitch it. Their tagline, I think, on the website is the most accessible yarn show, and they are very big on accessibility, inclusivity, and being welcoming. I'll pop some screenshots up of their accessibility charter kind of thing that they have on there, and their inclusivity charter, and also show you, they put a bit in the booklet about it. Where is it? Everyone is welcome here, everyone is valued. So this is in their brochure. I'll pause it there so you can read it for a sec. So basically, accessible, inclusive, and the whole point of it is for it to be accessible to everybody and open to everybody. So I'm going to talk about that as well. There were, for the most part, absolutely, 100%. So their aim was, I think some of this is in their accessibility charter, which I will have put up. Some of their aims were things like having lots of space to move around between the stalls, places where if it was overwhelming you could go and sit down, and there were lots and lots of spaces to sit down. So I think there were how many vendors? There were about 60 vendors there. There was quite a lot. Let's have a quick look. I've got the map in the middle here. Yeah, so there's 65. There were 65 different stalls. But I think there were probably about 60 vendors. So a couple of them were, one of them was a charity that was supporting it. One of them was a space where, it explains it a bit more in here, so let me actually grab it and explain it. Yeah, so sometimes even the most, You Are Here it was called, sometimes even the most fun, most eagerly anticipated events can be a little overwhelming for some folks, especially those who are neurodiverse or have social anxiety. If that's you, please know that you are wanted and welcome here, and that there are things in place to help you. If your kind of overwhelm needs a hug, a chat, or some other kind of human reassurance, then please head over to stand 20, You Are Here. Molly will be there to help ground you with some laughs, colouring, mini crafts and stimming tools. If your kind of overwhelm needs a quiet place, alone for a while, then please find Mand wandering around. She'll be wearing the Wool Monty organiser t-shirt and lanyard, and she'll take you to the quiet room where you can relax for as long as you need. So there were specific spaces for that. There was a stall where you could actually just go and say to somebody, I'm overwhelmed, I need a bit of time. And there was, like I say, stims and stimming tools and mini crafts and things like that. And then there was a quiet room. There was also multiple places around the event where there was seating, where you could sit down, and there was plenty of, the aisles were really wide and everything was quite well laid out. So there was plenty of people there with guide dogs or in mobility scooters or in wheelchairs, which was quite good for, I mentioned in my last one, I'm quite an introverted person, and particularly since COVID, I really don't like people very close to me that I don't know. But it was quite nice for me to be able to have that space, and my mum I think was quite grateful of it as well. So she's hard of hearing in one ear, and she has sort of intermittent mobility problems that come from something going on with her back, that sometimes she just needs to be able to sit down. So I know for her it was really reassuring that there were plenty of places to sit. We could park quite close to the entrance. There was lots of parking. The one thing I will say, she does have a disabled badge. But when I got there, I pulled up and spoke to the guy and said, where's the disabled parking? And it was all full. And I think there was only about 6 disabled slots for the entire event, which was not great. Thankfully, she was having a decent day. So we parked a bit further away. And even the further away wasn't that far. It was a couple of minutes walk to the entrance. But the accessible parking there was not a huge amount of it. So that's just worth bearing in mind. But yeah, they are very, very big on accessibility and inclusivity, and I would say that absolutely was echoed. Like I say, loads of people with assistance dogs, wheelchairs, things like that, and lots of space to move around and things like that. There is one thing that I think could have been improved upon, and I will talk about that a bit more, because I think it would actually be an accessibility thing for certain people, but I think actually it was quite a problem for everybody, because one of the vendors mentioned it and I actually fell foul of it as well. So it's worth mentioning. We'll get into that when we get into acquisitions. In fact, no, we won't. We'll get into it now. I'll tell you what it is, because you've probably already seen it in the pictures. The lighting in there really wasn't great. And I get that might have been a bit of a choice to make it not too bright on people. But the thing was, when you want to see the colours of the yarn that you're looking at, it was quite difficult. So there was essentially, there was very high ceilings, which were great because it doesn't create any echo or anything like that. It actually really wasn't too loud in there at all. I could hear my mum perfectly fine, and she could hear me, which, like I say, with a difficulty hearing in one ear, that was quite a big thing. The ceiling was completely black, and I don't know if it's normally like that or if that had been put up for that, but the ceiling was completely black, and there was one strip of lights down the middle of the big hall, and then there was some fairy lights over each side. It's not a lot of lighting, and it was really quite dark. And like I say, one of the vendors mentioned she was struggling to see her card machine, to see what she was doing. She was having to get her torchlight out on her phone to see what she was doing on her card reader to take payments. And I actually did fall foul of it, and one of the colourways that I got when I got it out in natural light is not what I thought it was. Thankfully, I think it still works for what I wanted it for, but that is the one thing I would mention. I think if you'd had difficulties, if you were visually impaired, I think it would have been really quite a challenge, certainly to see the colours of what you were buying. So that is one thing to note, but I will talk you through what we got, and I'm going to use some of the information from in here. One thing to mention in here as well is there's plenty of information about the shops and things like that. But there are some patterns included in here as well, particularly designed. But I'm trying to show you the things. So there was like this crochet, I think it's crochet. Yeah, crochet cowl pattern. There's a pattern for some socks, which I think are gorgeous. And these were created by the vendors, I think themselves, all of them. This one was lovely. You can't really see the texture in that because it's a really highly variegated yarn, but you could also, it told you the designers, you can see there's a designer's brand there, and then it told you where you could go and find them in the colourway. So if you wanted to exactly recreate it and how much you needed, you could. I don't know if that's fairly standard at things like this. There is also a little amigurumi, what is he? Sheep? I guess he's a sheep. So I think there's 6 patterns. Yeah, so 64 amazing vendors, 6 free knitting and crochet patterns, and meet some local legends. The programme was really good. This was completely free, so I really rated this. And there's some information in there about some of the vendors, so I'm going to keep them out so I can tell you. So the first thing we did when we got there was we did a round. I wanted to see who was there, where things were, what was going on, and then we got a drink before we went and did anything else. But then we started going around and I picked some things up. So the first thing I picked up is actually this tote bag. So there's an ongoing in-joke with me and my other half about bears. So anything, I needed to mention that because there's another bear themed thing in here. But when I saw this, Barely Awake, I picked this up. I can't even remember the vendor this was from. This was just obviously not their main thing, but she had some tote bags and I thought that was really cute. So I picked that up. And then we started walking around. So the first thing I picked up was from Sincerely Louise, which I think the Creator Bay has talked about recently because I think she was at, I think they were at the Woolly Good Gathering. So I'm sure it's a local, yeah, okay. So Sincerely Louise is an independent Sheffield brand, so very local. Specialising in taxidermy-inspired knitting kits, patterns and books. So I'll put some pictures up of what they do. They do these awesome, they do knitted creatures and things like that. I think the Creator Bay, I think Rebecca picked up a lobster for her boat. And they do these taxidermy things. So they're like knitted amigurumi, but you mount them on a board and they look like an animal head. And that's what I got. So I got the Make Your Own Forest Friend. And this is a bear. If I get the pattern booklet out to show you. And you get your little board to mount him on, which I just think is really cute. I just think it's really cute and really funny. And then you get your pattern, knit your own bear head. So there's 2 versions. There's the polar bear and there's the brown bear, and I've got the brown bear because I just thought he was really, really cute. It comes with your safety eyes and everything like that. I don't think it comes with needles. I think you need to get the needles. But you could also just buy the patterns as they were, or you could buy these little kits. This was £24 for the entire kit, and everything is in here that you need. I don't really want to pull it all out. I'm very excited to cast this on. I've never knit anything like this, and I'm really excited to try. So that is Sincerely Louise, and there was some really, I could have, oops, chucked it across the floor. I could have picked about 20 from them. I thought they were really cute. There was loads of things that I would happily have picked up and knit, so that was the first thing I picked. And then we got into some actual yarn. So after having done a proper round, my mum and I went to one of the biggest stores there, which was Mothy The Squid. Now I've seen this dyer on Instagram a lot, and there we go. Mothy The Squid is an artisan indie dyer specialising in ethically sourced premium yarns. Each skein is hand dyed in small batches and inspired by nature. We focus on unusual and beautiful species, including sea life, flowering plants and colourful insects. And I got a couple of skeins from here. I got one, my mum got one. The first one I got is this, which is beautiful. I don't know if you can tell in that light, you possibly can. These tweedy flecks, it's a black yarn with quite a high twist, you can see there. And these flecks are proper fluorescent. The assistant, it wasn't the actual dyer, but the assistant came up to me while I was looking at it and she went, have you seen that on the UV? And I was like, what? She got it. And they glow. Like I was sold on that, and then I got it home and realised I don't go anywhere where there's UV lights, but it's gorgeous as it is. So there's greens, there's oranges, there's pinks, and this is called Squirrels at a Rave. This is 85% superwash merino, 15% Donegal nep, and it's fingering weight yarn, so 100 grams is 400 metres. And I'm pretty certain this again was £24. I fully intend to make socks from this. It's just beautiful. It's got quite a lot of drape as well. Like, there's not a lot of structure to that. It's quite nice. And then my mum picked up a skein of this. So this is their Sunflowers colourway. How beautiful. Really gorgeous. This is a 75% merino, 25% nylon, superwash treated fingering weight yarn, 420 metres per 100 grams. Basically, my mum said, she picked it up and went, is this enough to make a pair of socks? Yes, of course it is, Mum. If I buy it, will you make me some socks? So she bought it, I'm making socks with it. And then because we'd bought 2 skeins, or I'd done 2 separate purchases at this point, I got a free mini skein. And I picked this orange because I thought they would go together in a sock set. So that's going to become some socks. Oops. And again, there is very little structure in this. There is a lot of drape in this. It's really, really beautiful. Mothy and the Squid was absolutely gorgeous. That I could have spent a fortune there. I really could. I could have spent an absolute fortune. I think I took some footage of their stand, so I will put that up as well. We then went a bit further and we went to a brand called Wonderful Wool, which I've never heard of. And I know nothing about, so I'm going to have to read you off the book again. So it says, a large selection of hand-dyed, combed, top and roving, including some unusual blends, hand-dyed and painted yarns in merino, silk, yak and cotton. So some interesting blends, and they did have some beautiful hand-dyed tops and roving, but I'm just not a very good spinner. So I do have a drop spindle. I've got a drop spindle and a Turkish drop spindle, and I've got so much fibre that I just don't know what to do with because I'm not very good at spinning. So I said to my mum, I convinced myself that if I get a spinning wheel or an e-spinner, that's what's going to sort it. Clearly, it's just the spinner. It's the tool. It's not the workman. So you never know. Maybe one day I'll drop hundreds on an e-spinner, only to realise I'm not very good at that either. So probably not. But yeah, I didn't get any fibre or anything like that. But I decided I wanted some sparkly socks. Mainly because my mum was really eyeing up all the sparkle stuff, and this was before she'd said, "Can you make me some out of this?" So I was like, I'm going to make her some more socks. I've made her a pair before, and she commented whilst we were there on how she wears them all the time. But unlike my dad, where my dad's gone, "Can I have some more of these, please?" She's never mentioned it because she doesn't want to put that on me. And when she'd said that, I was like, right, I'm going to make her some sparkly socks. So I picked up this skein. Oh, look at it. It's got so much sparkle. It's beautiful. So it doesn't have a colourway on it. And this is 100 grams Lurex Merino 4-ply, 66% superwash merino, 34% Lurex, so a strange percentages, and it's actually more like a sport weight. So it's 100 grams is 360 metres, and this was £17. It's just beautiful. It's sort of got greens, pinks, purples, browns. My mum was obsessed with this, and she doesn't know this is for her, so she's going to have some socks made out of that. And then the last thing I got was the one where I got caught out by the colour. So we went to Fae Folk Fibres. Where is it? So this one was a bit strange. I'm hoping there's some information here. If not, I'll have to find it and put it up. But it was like a different stand that had two different brands in it. Oh, I just realised they're in alphabetical order. So it is two. I was right. It was two. Hand dye in both workhorse and more luxurious, ethically sourced wool blend yarn. Felt Fusion brings vibrant, highly variegated colourways, sock sets, mini skeins and more, while Fae Folk Fibres, which is what I bought from, offers more muted tones inspired by myths, legends and history of the Black Isles and beyond. Sorry, the Black Isles, the British Isles and beyond. It's because there was a colourway called Black Shuck that I really wanted. I just wanted it for the name. And when we were there, my mum said, basically it's like an engagement present, pick something you really want and I'll get it for you. And I picked a skein that I wanted to go with some yarn I already have in my stash that I thought would complement them to go with make a shawl. And I picked this, and it's beautiful. This is 60% superwash merino, 20% baby alpaca and 20% silk. It's a singles. The colourway is Louise, and it's 460 metres per 115 grams. It is beautiful. And it's incredibly drapey. This was £24. I think the Mothy and the Squid ones, actually, I think I'm wrong. I think they were £22. Apologies. The trouble is, this isn't the colour it looked in the shop. It looked like a really bright, warm orange. Ready orange, and I've got it out, and I don't know if it's showing up. I think it is showing up fairly true to life. I can't see properly because of the glare. It's coming up a bit more orangey on camera, but when I got it out in natural light, it's pink. That's a bit better if I hold it back and put it next to my face. It's a really bright pink, a hot pink, which is nice, but it's not what I thought it was. And it was actually this vendor who said about not being able to see. My mum also commented on it before we'd even got to this, that it was quite dingy and it was quite hard to see the colours. So it is worth noting. I do think I'm still good. I brought down my two skeins that I was going to hold it with, and I do think it still works, albeit this is much brighter than I was intending, because this spin cycle's got some pinks in it that it pulls out. But yeah, this is not what I intended. It's beautiful. I will use it. I'm still very happy with it. But when I got it out, I was a little bit gutted because it was a very special skein and it was to go with some very special yarns that I've got. And And when I got it out and looked at it, it was like just a bit deflated, because really not quite what I thought it was going to be. So yeah, I was a bit disappointed. Some other companies that I wanted to mention that I looked at, but I didn't get anything from, because I would have loved to have got them from all of them, but I would have spent a small fortune. A couple that I knew that I was really happy to see there. Greenlambkin Yarns were absolutely beautiful. I didn't get anything from her because I have ordered her Advent this year, so it felt a bit, you know, I wanted to try different dyes that I haven't tried before rather than doing that. But she had a beautiful stall with some absolutely gorgeous colourways. Cool Woolings, which I've heard of before, had some really gorgeous bright neon colours. They were fantastic. They were relatively small stall, but they had some really, really beautiful things. Ducky Darlings is based in Derbyshire, I've heard. I think it's Ali of Little Drops of Wonderful talk about Ducky Darlings quite a lot, and they had some beautiful things. They were maybe slightly more natural colourways, which didn't appeal to me as much. By that point I was looking for my sparkly yarn, and they didn't have any sparkly, so I didn't go through it so much. Floof Fibres were there, and it was actually them that did the beanie that I showed, the yarn in that beanie. I've ordered from them before on Etsy, and I've knit with some of their yarn before, and it is beautiful, so I can very highly recommend that. They had quite a small stand, and actually the guy at the stand commented on the fact that next year they were going to try and get a bigger one, because I really think, having seen their colourways on Etsy, I don't think it was the best show of their kind of stuff. Fruitful Fusion also had some beautiful stuff. They are from, I believe they're from Leicester, and Greenlambkin Yarn as well. Greenlambkin Yarn was a bit of a shame. They were having a real problem. Somebody was having a real problem making a payment, and her and all of her sort of friends around her were blocking up the stall, and I couldn't get in to see. And by the time we had chance to go back, we were both done. We'd spent what we wanted to spend, and we were knackered, so we wanted to go home. But yeah, there was some beautiful stuff there. And who else? There was definitely somebody else I wanted to mention. There were some really beautiful things there that, you know, if money no object, I would have spent a small fortune. There was a couple of other sort of animal knitting companies. So there was one called Sardines for Tea, which their logo is great. Let me just show you I love that. I think that's so cute. And they did sort of animal or toy knitting kits, and they were beautiful as well. And there was a company there as well called Tyne and Floyd, who actually the people that I bought my drop spindle from. They had some really beautiful fibre and some hand spun, but like I say, I was resisting the fibre, because I know I'm not going to knit that. I'm not going to spin that fibre. I'm just not very good. I've got plenty that I should be doing first. So yeah, that's what I got. Overall, really, really good show. I would absolutely go back. I would just maybe take a little head torch with me. I know it sounds really stupid, but I am going to reach out to Woolfull and mention. I'm sure people probably already have, but I will reach out and mention that it's something that a couple of us mentioned, because like I say, yeah, it caught me out on this. This is not really what I wanted it to be. So that was my one note. But if you are local to the area, and even if you, do you know what, if you're not, I'd say it's worth a travel to. It was a good show. There's a lot of vendors. There was a really nice mix, and some really interesting things there. So I really, really enjoyed it. The big question is, I would absolutely go back. And I would absolutely go to all the yarn shows as well. I did really enjoy it. The one thing I think I didn't do very well is have a plan of what I was going to do when I went in. I should have really, and I knew I should have gone in with a bit of okay, I want this, and I didn't. But I've got some beautiful things. Clearly I was in a sort of a warm colour tones mood when I went, but I'm really happy with what I purchased. Most of this, 3 of these are going to become socks, and this is probably still going to go in that shawl. I have got an alternative if I decide I don't want it. But yeah, I would absolutely go back. I really, really enjoyed it. Oh, and I should have mentioned, Mothy The Squid gave us a couple of free stitch markers. So this is a card. My mum took one of them, which was a little blue butterfly, and I have one that's like a little red tulip, which I think is really cute. Yeah, completely an aside that I just completely forgot to mention it. So yeah, really rate it. Some really beautiful companies there, some really, really beautiful dyes. I think the only thing to bear in mind if you're planning on going is the lighting wasn't great, and I'm really, really hoping that they do something about that next year. But there you go. That was my thoughts on the Wool Monty. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed seeing a bit of what I got up to and what it was like there. Let me know your thoughts if you went, what you liked, what you didn't like, and also let me know any other yarn shows that you recommend that are worth me checking out, because I'd love to go to some more. That's that's everything for today. So if you enjoyed, please feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye guys.